All right. Yeah. All right. Hey, what's up, Jared? Welcome to I Don't Make This Stuff Up.
Thanks. How's it going?
It's going all right. It's going all right. As always, I'm alive unless otherwise stated. But anyway, so let's get right into it. Why me? Why do you want to come on the show and harass me or have a good time? Tell me some jokes. I don't know what's going on here. Fill me in.
Yeah, I sort of stumbled on it. Seemed like a fun thing to do, and I like to do fun things, so why not?
Well,
You guys
that's
got some
fair.
good banter happening on the show. I figured I'd check it out.
You got to have a little bit of banter. It depends if you're talking about the first season or the second season. Like really, the banter changes slightly to discussions about science and Pluto being big to obviously working around the entertainment industry. Which if anyone's watching or listening, Jarret Sherman, right? Sherman.
Yeah, that's me.
He's been in the entertainment industry for a long time, but now he focuses mostly, and correct me if I'm wrong, marketing and establishing an audience for whatever particular brand X that you're working with. Correct?
That's right. You got it.
That's we like to simplify here.
Like it. Oh.
But more importantly, what was it other than the banter about the show where you were like, you know what, I want to have a conversation and there's something I have to say. And I think I can say it on this show. What was it really?
It was a conversation with you and JD about marketing and brands and what your brand represents. And yeah, I just thought I liked your take on it, frankly. Talking about personal brands and what you put out online versus sort of who you are and how the brand online is. There was one thing that you said. It was like I actually wrote it down. It was your brand is a reflection of sort of your personal. You're talking about your values and your morals, but really like it's you. It's your persona in the virtual form.
Correct.
I'm not saying it how you said it, but
yeah. It's your missions, morals, and ideals.
But it was that it's your personal brand. It's you online. It's a reflection of you.
Yeah. It's what you present represents you as a person. So if I present to you just wrestling stuff, I'm representing myself as a wrestler, and there's just nothing there. I can't connect to that as an audience member. But if you start presenting the things that matter to you, or you start the way you interact with people, like obviously if I'm attacking people, that's a representation of my brand through presentation. And some people forget that. They forget that the internet exists when they're on the internet, and they'll be like, your thing sucks. And then that's who you are, so.
There was also something you said, you were talking about posting as a reflection of you, not to get a result.
Correct. You are not, if you have an agenda to your actions, you are no longer marketing, you are advertising. Marketing is always a representation of the brand's value, and advertisement is a reflection of the numbers game. You're basically going, if I could get enough people to see this, the rule of 10% applies. If 1,000 people see this, 100 people will be like, what is that? 10 people will be like, oh, I'm interested, and one person will purchase it, right? That's how advertisement works. Whereas marketing is actually all about building a relationship with the brand. Because the brand, again, as you said, is you. It's a representation of the things that matter to you. It's your missions, morals, and ideals. It's the things you want to change in the world, missions. It's your ideals on how you perform in the world. And then it's your morals, your stance on certain things. So a moral is, I believe lying is wrong. An ideal is, I won't lie. And a mission is, I want people to feel comfortable enough around me to tell the truth.
I'm already glad I got on this podcast. I'm going to listen to this after and write it all down. This is cool.
You're supposed to tell me the wrongs. No,
because so I work for mainly entertainment clients, and it's my whole MO is about audience building, which is about trying to create authentic connection with people through these mediums, and to not be. Can I swear on this podcast?
You can. It'll just lose me money. No, just it's
not be bullshit. Like to just be real and to be authentic with people.
Mm-hmm.
But when I heard you say you don't want to have a result, like, of course I'm posting because there is a result I want, which is I want people to engage.
So just to push back on that a little bit.
Yeah.
The end result will lead to a result, You know what I'm saying? Like, obviously, like if I post properly, I should get a result to it. But if you're posting to get a result, it limits the real of it. It limits, because the agenda starts leaking through. Now, obviously, if you can get, like, when Paul Rudd is up there doing a limerick or an anecdote that he's said a million times, either before that moment or it's a go-to story that works, that's different. He's in the zone. He was coached for that. That's a PR skill, but he's still being true. Like that story about his kids or whatever. His kids like the Hulk more than they like Ant-Man. So Mark Ruffalo sends his kids Hulk toys. Like, that's a great example of brand, because he's not selling anything, even though indirectly he is, because now I want to see him in Ant-Man.
Right.
But if he went on the show and he's like, Mark Ruffalo and I, he's the Hulk and I'm Ant-Man, in Marvel, like we do the Marvel movies together. And my kids, they know I'm Ant-Man, but they prefer the Hulk. So when they go to see the Ant-Man movie, especially coming out, April, they're going to root for Hulk, and then they're going to be disappointed that the Hulk's not in it, but I am.
Right.
I'll be Ant-Man in April, and but you could also see the Hulk in Avengers, which will come out actually in August. But that to give you a taste of what's to come, you could watch Ant-Man, and that's not authentic.
Right.
All I did was just sell you,
because you hear the agenda come through very clearly.
Yes, and if you start with the agenda, it then comes through, even if you aren't noticing it consciously. It becomes a subconscious part of the
Well, let me ask you this. So if I'm posting, because I want people to engage. I'm trying to, I want people to engage so that I can talk to them and create a relationship with them and have them come back. So if I'm putting up a post that's geared towards getting a result, like a poll,
a poll is a push and it's not considered brand. So, or adventure or experience. I'm sure you probably heard that on the podcast. I talk about posting experience posts or adventure posts. A venture post is like your process or your experience through something, whereas a poll is a push because you're looking to directly influence the audience. A push does two things. It pushes people away and it pushes an agenda, right? Another thing that could be a push is buy my book. Buy my book, right? That's a push. You're pushing an agenda, obviously, but you're also going to push your audience away because they might just be like, I'm sick and tired of seeing the ads.
Right.
I get it. Another poll, there's no emotional attachment to your adventure through what would you prefer? Do you like books or do you like reading books or audiobooks? That's going to create engagement because people will feel heard. They're choosing to interact with that because they're like, well, this is about me. Right. But you're not looking for about me. You're looking for people to connect to you. And that's the big difference. I'm not saying don't do polls, and I'm not saying don't say buy my book, but I'm saying mix it up. There should be at least, if you can handle it, a ratio of 4-1, meaning 4 adventure posts and then 1 push.
Right.
And that will help establish a connection with the audience, because then they're doing the poll because they want to do it for you, not because it lets them be seen. That's the difference between you posting a poll and The Rock posting a poll.
Right. It's interesting though, because being seen, being heard, being valued are big parts of my MO, how I approach this sort of thing, creating engagement and making audiences feel valued by the thing that they are fans of.
Yeah, again, that is a form of pushing, though. You're creating an environment. Like, here's an example why that falls short when it comes to branding. Post something that matters to you and watch the engagement drop, right? And it works with The Rock, too. I'm sure if you've watched certain episodes, there's one episode of I Don't Make This Stuff Up where we literally open up The Rock's social media and we talk about this. There are brand posts, adventure posts where it's him and Kevin Hart and they're being silly, but they're filming it, like they have the camera up, like, they're like, hey, I'm here with Kevin Hart all the way down there. Look at this small right? And they're being bantery and they're having fun. And then, but they go, we're taking a break on our new project. And they might not even mention the name of the project, or just saying, I'm taking a break on our new project.
Yeah.
right? Because that's vague but informative.
Yeah.
And that post will blow up, right? And it might get a couple million likes, whatever. But then he's like, "Oh, I have my new vodka," right? And that post, yeah, it's getting 200,000 or 300,000 likes,
right?
But again, advertisement dictates the rule of 10%. He has 45 million followers or whatever it is,
right?
But no one's connecting to the vodka,
right? It's not authentic and genuine the way the other one is, where it's just two guys who are friends.
That's right.
Having a good time.
Yeah. But because he built his adventure posts and his brand and his relationships, he's earned the right. So just to be clear for anyone listening, like you who has a local band or you just started acting in local theater, you haven't earned the right to do what The Rock has done. He has built an empire of audience, and now he can go buy my vodka. And yeah, 300,000 people watch, but obviously the rule of that, right? If you could get 1,000 true fans, that's a salary. You know what I'm saying? Like if 1,000 people buy your book, I mean, that's 13 grand, right? If the book is $13.
Right.
So he's not necessarily failing at this point, like, because he's like, buy my vodka. But the problem is, again, I mentioned to you, and everybody that listens to the show, it's all about misconception.
Right.
People see The Rock post their vodka and he's like, he's making sales, but it's not because he made vodka, but they're thinking if I make vodka and I do a social media post on Instagram, people will buy my vodka. But that's not true. It's someone might buy your vodka, but he's not having sales because he's making sales because of that Kevin Hart post.
Right.
And that's really what your goal is to earn the right. In fact, I might not even push anything if you haven't moved past your friends and family, because I say it often, friends and family means zero.
Right.
You can't, of course they're going to support you. Your friends and family. But you're a douche. You're a douche if you're like, will you spend money on my vodka, mom?
Hey, I made some sales today. My mom bought, my dad bought, my cousin bought.
Yeah, right, I'm doing good. And then like Thursday hits and you're like, nobody bought anything.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's the benefit of reach, right? Authentic reach, real reach, where people care.
Correct. And you can't do that with push, because like you're saying, I agree with the method in the sense of you'll create interaction, or more importantly, reaction, right? Yep. But the problem is that's about them. So when you do post something that is authentically you or does absolutely represent your brand, it dies. It's just, you're going from, I got 70 people interacted with this. And then you post like something about your kid or dog, and people are like, or actually I should be honest about that. A dog or a child will actually increase your, right? That because it is your adventure.
Stick with my example, because I'm working on behalf of TV clients, right? Okay. So I post a clip of the show that they love, right? And it's probably still doesn't get the same engagement that something that asks something of them to reflect themselves will get.
Yeah. However, a behind the scenes would probably get more interaction.
Right.
Because they're seeing process. People like to look behind the curtain. They like to feel involved. They also like to discover things.
Yeah.
And that's why, like, if you watch a show or a movie with somebody and you're watching it and they turn to you and go, did you know? And you're like, yeah, I'm watching the movie right now. Yeah. But did you know that, they'll start telling you tidbits or factoids.
Well, that kind of goes to what I talk about often with my clients, which is that fans of anything, it really comes down to two things. They want access and they want status.
Yes.
And when they get access, they want everyone to know it. And that's the status piece, right? So by saying, did you know, that's showing that I've gotten some access somewhere and now I'm displaying my status.
Yeah, it's a value set. They're like, I have this knowledge, and therefore, if you know me, I can provide more knowledge because I have proven that I have the value of this, right? And that happens. That's why people will follow someone like The Rock, because if The Rock starts talking about working out, but not necessarily this is how you work out, because again, that might not get as much as I am working out,
right?
And that's the big difference between brand and pushing is. I did my routine today. I woke up at 6 o'clock. I'm feeling really good. Then I got to get to the set at 4, early rise, now people are like, oh yeah. And they like believe in him because he's talking with the audience. But if he did a video, he's like, you know, all right, to get to where I am, these are the 5 steps that you have to do, right? You gotta. That's probably not going to get as much emotional reaction because it's informative, right?
Yeah.
Information is pushing, right? But it doesn't mean not to post that, which is very important to understand. You know,
the whole point of having a mix. For
yes,
sure.
yeah.
Having a mix.
But if you go to somebody's like Facebook, let's say, or Instagram, and it's like buy.
Yeah.
Oh, I went fishing today. Buy. You know,
I had that today. I had a prospective client say, "Look at my socials," and I was like, "Your socials are all promo. They're all self-serving one way. There's nothing for anyone to hook into.
Yep.
Well, why would anyone come back? Why would anyone engage with this? Number one. And number two, why would they come back? Everything's one click away from everything else. There's nothing interesting here."
I can answer that. See, if I tell people to buy my thing, right, I made it and it's awesome. And that's why they should buy it, because I made it. It's not like I have a bias. I'm just saying it has lots of value. So if enough people see that I have it available, they'll buy it. So my artist brain is telling me to just post it as much as possible. So people buy it. Which,
I guess.
Well, that's what happens, you know.
I mean, maybe that's the thought process, but I don't think that's the truth.
It's not the truth. That's the joke. Artist brain think I made this. It is
so
awesome.
Everyone should care. Yeah.
Everyone should care because, and by the way, the artist should care. They should be like, yeah, I made this. This is awesome. But that doesn't mean other people should care. Right. You want them to care about you because then they care about the things you make.
Yeah.
And that's where the business brain takes hold. That's why you have to approach it with the business mentality. And I say it often on this show and everywhere else. Artists should leave the business out of it and create what they want. Let the emotion of their creation shine through. Yep. But once it's done, and the moment you say, I want to make money with this, you have to shut off the artist brain and turn on the business brain, and you have to approach it completely different.
Cold, hard business brain. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, but some people, they mix the two. They go, oh, what could make money? And now it doesn't have soul. And then, you know, or vice versa, where they're like, I made this thing, and because I made it, it's awesome. And that's artist mentality. It's art. You know, I love it. Why wouldn't other people love it? You know, and
I've been in the digital space since the beginning, and I remember when "If you build it, they will come" was a real thing. Like that was actually, the novelty was there. If you made something interesting, people would flock to it, check it out. And now it's just the opposite.
Yeah, it's probably because there's too much access. You know, if you build 700,000 baseball fields, no one's coming into the middle of Nebraska to watch ghosts play baseball.
Everything's just saturated. It's all saturated.
Yeah. And but that's why you got to stand out through having purpose. You know, that's where the missions come in. You know, if you're doing something to change the world, even on a micro level, that's more interesting than if you're just like, well, I wrote a book, and because I wrote the book, or I made a TV show, and because I made the TV show, but you're going to like the show because there's diversity, and that's the sale. And if diversity is your sale, you're not necessarily, there's no mission, there's no moral, there's no ideal.
But in all the examples you just cited, it's very easy for each one of those to say, and here's why, because we're trying to do this.
Yeah.
And now you have a mission.
Yeah. Yeah. Once you establish a mission with your audience, they're going to pay attention because they're like, well, maybe I believe in this. And then once they believe in it, they're going to pay you money.
Yeah.
You know, Metallica makes money because people believe in, I feel part of a brotherhood and I want to support this because I want Metallica to come back around because I can let go, bang my head, and be around other people, community that I feel safe in. And I'm going to continue buying $60 hoodies, you know. But then your local band comes over, there's 3 people there. Or an actor, you know, oh, I made this short, you know, it's like the festival thing.
But why?
Yeah, but why? Yeah, like what is the show? Well, because I get to act in it, and I'm the lead, and I'm so good.
Yeah, great, but why?
But why? Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, you're in the industry, so it's fun to actually have someone I could kind of riff off with this concept. I'm gonna bring it up to you, and you tell me how you feel about it.
Okay.
Okay. So the process for a filmmaker in their mind is get a script, raise the money privately to get that script made, film that movie, be it a short or a feature, and then deliver it to festivals. And that is the secret to success in the film industry. Agree or disagree?
Well, it's a story. Hold on. It's a story we've seen happen. So that's why, there's a belief in that. But like every story, it's not the only story. And it doesn't mean that story comes true every time. So
there's an exception to the rule, right?
Right. I mean, and before that, it was camp out outside some executive producer's house until he says yes, and that's how I'm going to make it. That story changes, generation to generation when someone thinks of some other way to stand out and cut through the noise and get their project off the ground. And so for a time, yeah, I agree that maybe could have worked. I don't know that works now.
Well, if I may push back on it, Steven Spielberg did network market practice. He started working within Universal Studios. He started being basically a runner. He volunteered his time, and lo and behold, Jaws came out, and they were like, "Hey, they dropped out. You want to be a director? I know you. I like you. Do you want to do this? It's a failure, but you can take it." And he said, "Yeah, sure." And he made it a success. And obviously, that's a very the result of Jaws. That's a crazy variable to happen, but how he got that opportunity is what people should be focusing on. But people don't want to volunteer their time, or I should say artists don't want to volunteer their time. I want to work with Robert De Niro, but they're but now they're literally working next to the next Robert De Niro, but because they have no value yet, I deserve the chance to be seen next to Robert because I'm awesome.
Well, you just said the big word, right? Deserve. And nobody deserves. There is no deserve in any of this, right? Yeah. Nobody deserves to get to direct a movie. Nobody deserves to be a screenwriter. Nobody deserves to be cast in the role. There's a million variables for why you would get cast in something. And 9 times out of 10, they have nothing to do with your skills and everything to do with when you walk in the door, you don't look like who the producer had in their head. And that's it.
Or they're like, his nose is so interesting.
Yeah.
I think he can become the character. And it's like, let's see if we can put some work in there.
And it had nothing to do with anything you did to prepare. That's completely luck of the draw. And then there's the whole opportunity success equals opportunity plus preparation. Right? If you've done the work and you've got the chops, and then they hand you a side and your nose is great, which you didn't know about, and you can also do a good job on the script. Great.
Yeah. Or you could do a terrible job on the script and still get cast because everybody has said once or in a while, how did they get cast? They are terrible because it had nothing to do with their talent. It had to do with something else. Their personality, their brand, their representation. And let's face it. Let's say hypothetically, Tom Cruise was not the actor he is, because even though right now, you're like, he kind of plays the same role every time, but he does a fantastic job as an actor, right? Like obviously.
He's really, really good.
But let's say he wasn't. Let's say he was a terrible actor, but still had what he has to get Mission Impossible made. He's going to get cast because people are like, he is a green lighter. It's like why people do. Not that Eric Robert is Eric Roberts of the 80s. He's Eric Robert of the 2000s and 20s now. But people will be like, "Oh, I cast Eric Roberts in my low budget self-produced film. The studios are going to pick it up." And then they're like, "No." Right. But Eric Roberts, we spent our entire budget on Eric Roberts, or whatever. They think because A happened, B will happen.
Right.
But that's not the reality. And going back to the festival, like someone like Kevin Smith, he didn't get successful because his movie was in a festival. He got it because he was building relationships that led to someone saying, "Oh, you're the guy everyone's talking about."
Well, but even sort of, I guess, before or after that, he did it because he made a great movie. His first movie was a great movie that resonated with people. That's what I tell my clients. At the end of the day, it's about how fans respond to your IP. Either they like your show, either your show is good and they like it, or it's a piece of crap and nobody cares. And it doesn't matter how much we do on the marketing side, because at the end of the day, if the meat isn't there, people may come, but they're not going to hang around.
That's what she said.
Hey now.
Hey now. My only pushback on that is, which proves my argument when I talk in general about this, is let's say the film was fantastic.
Yep.
He didn't tell anyone and he didn't market it.
Right.
No one would have ever been interested in it because he brought the interest. But I do agree that it has to be good, but it doesn't have to be great, because that goes back to Robert De Niro. The first time he ever went into the room, he wasn't great.
Right.
The first time he was on screen, he wasn't Robert De Niro. And some actors, or just artist brain in general, they think they're at a level they're not at. And they try to get rewarded for that thought. Like, oh, I just, again, deserve XYZ. But I don't believe something has to be life-changingly great,
right,
to be successful. Success is making a living within your field of interest. A living is not a lifestyle. It's affording your average monthly overhead, right?
Yeah.
Longevity, on the other hand, I agree with your statement. To create longevity, you do need talent. You do need something. It doesn't have to be great yet, but it has to have the ability to be great.
Yeah.
You know, even Steve Martin, I don't agree with his statement, be so great, be so good they can't ignore you. I don't agree with that statement, because even Steve Martin doesn't believe he's great. If you read his memoir, he's always like, I was never good enough, and I don't know why people pick me. And it's like, your friend called you up after he broke his leg to do the ski resort gig. It had nothing to do with you being great. It had to do with your friend thought you were good enough, and he liked you.
Yeah.
Like, that was it. It was good enough, and he liked you. You know?
And I'm actually in the middle of watching the Steve Martin doc right now. So it's
oh, nice.
Time that you said that. But he also put a ton into the preparation part and getting his comedy there, and then struggled to get the act to where it needed to be until I think the audience has caught up with him and understood what he was actually doing.
Yeah, but you're saying the right things. He took the time, but he was still in the industry.
Yeah.
You know, he didn't wait until he was Steve Martin wearing the white suit.
No.
You know, he was working in a Disney magic shop with a great musician who basically was retired, where he got the arrow thing, right? And but more importantly, he didn't say, well, I have to wait. I have to wait until I get. But some people think they're Steve Martin in the suit.
Yeah, you have to go. You have to grind it out, and you have to do the legwork to be good or great, for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And what it takes to be great is that 10,000 hours of struggling and sweating and crying and working. And he applied philosophy to his comedy.
Yeah.
He's studying philosophy, and took those applications to writing. How can I get a better laugh, and why?
Yep.
And deconstructed comedy, and then rebuilt his own, and that was genius. But to your point about deserving, maybe there's an entitled generation right now that believes that I want to be an actor, so therefore I deserve to be an actor.
Yeah.
And the rejection will maybe help them become a great actor, because they're going to be getting a lot of rejection that way. But yeah, you have to put in that time. You have to put in those 10,000 hours, or you'll never be good enough to stand out.
Yeah.
And that's longevity.
And again, though, like, I don't feel, and I've witnessed this myself, being in the industry, like, you don't have to be great in the beginning. And I think that makes people nervous if they aren't great. And it's like, no, it's okay to fail. In fact, instead of trying to be an actor, why don't you start working on set? Why don't you do the PA job? Why don't you do an office PA? Why don't you? No, but I want to be a lead actor. You haven't earned the right to be a lead. Well, then I'm going to do this college independent film. All right, you did a college independent film, but you're the lead in a film that doesn't have a quality script. Your performance cannot be quality, right? And also the director doesn't know what they're doing. So what you just did is what comedians fail at. They go and they do open mic nights at a comedy club in front of the person who books it. Right. And you're working on material that is working. It's not honed. And then they're like, well, I got to give them 3 years before I look at their name again. Yeah. Instead of going, wait, it's not about getting on stage. It's about building a relationship within the industry first and letting people get to know me. And then when I do the open mic nights, they're not judging me on my material.
But the flip side of that is you also have to have some experience. You have to know what you're doing. And the best way to do that is to go do it, right? Go do the thing. So
I
if you can
agree
book
with that.
if you can go book that film school movie, yeah, you may be terrible in it, but you're going to learn as long as you're open to learning, you're going to learn all kinds of things from having done that. And that'll make you that much better the next time you get some other opportunity or the next time you can. So there's value.
100%. Let me add a little caveat to that. Don't do those things to be successful. Meaning, don't film that independent film because that's going to do it. I'm going to get discovered. Don't go and do the open mic night in front of the owners because they'll see how great I am. Like, I agree with you. If you're going to be a comedian, you got to get on stage. But be careful where you get on stage. If you don't know anyone, don't use your material that you believe is great to get respect. Build respect. And now that's why Louis C.K. can go up and do jokes that if a first year did them, they'd be like, this is terrible comedy. But because Louis C.K. is Louis C.K., we understand him as a person, and therefore we can relate to the humor. You know,
I would even argue that if you in any art, take it up a level even higher, any artist in any medium should never do the thing because of what might happen. You do the thing because you love to do the thing.
1000%, which again goes back to agenda.
Right.
If you film something to get discovered, you're not, is this something you believe in?
Right.
Does it represent your brand?
Authentic performance into it, or is it all calculated?
Yeah.
And
but more importantly, because you're a brand, you're a marketing guy, right? Denzel Washington is famous for saying this. I say this often on the show. His choice of roles had purpose. What did he believe in? How did he want to be represented? He didn't want to do this. I'm a robber. I'm somebody who robs somebody and gets arrested. I don't want that role, right? So even when you're starting out your career, if you're like, I'm going to do a college independent film, do you believe in the message of the film, and does it represent the things that are important to you?
Yeah.
Like, for example, I don't drink or do drugs or smoke. I never have, right? I never even tried it. I don't care if other people do it. But what that means is if I'm going to do that on a film or anything, I have to make sure it represents my feelings on it. So I'm not going to glorify drug use or glorify drinking or glorify, right? So that's important for me as an artist to make sure that if I take on a role or a project or even write a book, that both sides are presented, but my side is presented. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want people to be like, drinking alcohol is terrible. Like, that's not the message I want. I want people to see people drinking responsibly and then seeing people drink irresponsibly. I'm okay playing the irresponsible drinker, but I'm not okay playing the responsible drinker, but I want that person in the film as well.
Do you need to see the consequences of what happens to the irresponsible drinker as part of the film?
I have to see the consequences of whatever the story, be it a book or whatever. Only because, but for me,
right.
Like, if I'm going to be involved in it,
the morality of that message, you want to see that.
Correct. Because my morals, my ideals, and my missions.
Right.
But again, I also don't need everything in a film. Like, I love the idea of teamwork. I love the idea of elevating one another. I love about community and unity. I don't need to be in a film that doesn't have that. I mean, I don't need to be in a film that has that, is what I'm saying. Like, it's okay that it doesn't have all of my missions and all of my morals, but it has to have at least something.
Right.
You know, and I think that's important for any creative person, is don't just do things because, like you said, oh, this is my break.
Right.
You know, I guess the best example is women. I always tell women, don't do nudity if you don't want to do nudity.
Right.
Like, oh yeah, but it's a Martin Scorsese film, and I'm gonna be naked, but it's called Vinyl, and you're not Bobby, and you're in the background.
What you're saying is, as an artist, have integrity, basically.
Yeah. But integrity for the things that matter to you, not the things that matter for your career. Because you can,
I mean, yeah, I guess I would only ever think of integrity as a personal thing, not the integrity of my choices as they relate to my, ascension or something like that.
Well, yeah, but you could have a more like, oh, I want to show my parents before they pass away that I became successful, so they're proud of me. Like, now you're making career choices for them. I got to do basketball diaries. I played the basketball, and you're just like, well, okay. you know, Leonardo DiCaprio's in that. Yeah, but everyone's paying attention to me as the basketball.
Yeah, totally.
You know what I'm saying? But since marketing is something that you do, what is your approach to marketing when dealing? I shouldn't say dealing, when working with a client for the first time. Like run us through the process. Like, let's say I'm a client and I go, hey, Jarret Sherman, I'd like to hire you. We're sitting down. How's this work?
So, I mean, it's probably not that different from most people's approach, which is I want to know what the goal is, what we're trying to achieve, and then it's working backwards from there. And so for me, because I'm working in entertainment, I'm working with TV clients and I'm working with individual talent. The goals tend to be the same thing. They want growth and they want revenue.
Yeah.
But I want to hear them say it, and I want to drill down into what that actually means with them. So it's always about what the goal is, what we're trying to do here. Why do you feel you need this? Why do you want to hire me? What do you need? And then from there, it's about who the audience is. What are we trying to do here? Like, who are we serving? Mm-hmm. And so I always do a deep dive, like heavy research phase up front. Because I want to know who this audience is. I want to know what kind of traction you've got. I want to know what your current socials are. I want to know what the competitor socials are, what the competitor landscape is, what other people are doing in the space. I want to find the white space that we might be able to fill. I'll build audience personas, and then I'll do a content strategy and engagement strategy toward that. Mm-hmm. And what seems to me is, still a novelty. We talked about sort of the client, like social, brand socials tend to be very one way these days. There's a lot of like promotional messaging and shouting out about, how great we are, or you got to come check out the new episode or whatever. And there's nothing for anyone to hook into. And so my MO is always about making this a two-way conversation, and ideally a three-way conversation, because SuperServe is all about community. We want to build community around IP because we think that's how longevity happens. Like, if you have a community of fans who love you and your brand, whatever, my philosophy is if you keep them well fed, they'll stick around. Yep. And they'll keep you in business forever. Whatever you're going to sell them, if they love you and you treat them well and you keep feeding them with more of the stuff that they love, once you now have a t-shirt to sell or a concert ticket to sell or whatever it is, they'll buy it. So it's really crucial to have a community around you. Mm-hmm. And so then it's about community building tactics, authenticity, engagement, making people feel valued, and really two-way conversation. Like I said, three-way conversation. Ideally, I want, in the best case sort of scenario of community, I want this fan talking to that fan on their own accord without me facilitating it.
Yeah, third-party interaction. Right. Yeah. Or introduction. I mean, third-party introduction. That's cool. When a friend is like, did you ever hear of this thing? That's a third-party introduction, which is the most powerful form of marketing. Yes. Because the relationships people have, any suggestion gains 50% of the value of that relationship. So if you're my best friend, you're going to get 50% of the value of our relationship, and that's going to solidify my suggestion. Right. If I'm a stranger, 50% of having a relationship with a stranger is, oh yeah, thanks, I appreciate it. Yeah, I'll check that out. Don't worry, buddy. Like, because
I don't know anything about that person or their choices, or if we align from a sense of humor standpoint or what's important to us.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah. Word of mouth from a trusted source. Look, it used to be that we had all these filters, right? We had the TV Guide, we had critics, we had all the major networks that filtered out the crap and only put on the best stuff, supposedly.
Yeah.
And that was those were our tastemakers, right?
Yeah. What's a television? No. All right.
It's all gone out the window, right? That doesn't exist anymore. So now it's really your best sources are people that you trust. So if you can get word of mouth happening, and that's why my whole thing is I want to turn fans into evangelists, because they evangelize without being asked. And so SuperServe's, all the levers that we pulled to turn fans into evangelists are all about super serving fans, over delivering, giving them more than they would ever expect from the thing that they love, from the official, the official sources, to the point that they can't believe how well they're being treated by something that they love, that they're a fan of. They have to tell other people.
Now, when you say SuperServe, you're not talking like Stormy Daniels SuperServe.
I mean, not familiar with her version of it, But no, it's this concept of super serving fans, over delivering to fans.
Yeah.
To the point that they have to tell other people how great they're being treated.
And I mean, once the demand is there, you have to supply it with content.
But content can take all kinds of forms. Right?
Yeah. 100%. Kind of let's like push into this a little bit. So do you only, and I'm not using the word only in a negative thing, I'm just to simplify it. Do you only focus on social media when you do your marketing?
No, but I primarily focus on it because there's I'm helping somebody right now, working with a client where there's a social media piece and there's a PR piece with an agency, and I'm helping to find the agency, planning on working very hand in hand with them. So that's because there are aspects to what this client wants to do that fall outside of social. They need a larger stage. They need to be in the press. They need to be interviewed, maybe win awards, get on podcasts. So that's all sort of on the PR side, but the end result is the same. Like that's helping them achieve the goal that they came to me for. But I'm not a PR specialist, so I'll bring that in.
That's the only reason I'm asking, because PR is I shouldn't say PR, but the result of PR is the strongest form of marketing, not advertisement, but marketing, because that's where through interviews you can develop a stronger relationship with an audience, whereas reviews or those are opinions. So you're not actually connecting to the brand, you're connecting to somebody else's brand.
Opportunities to humanize, whatever, a podcast interview also, same thing, right?
But
a chance to see behind the curtain. Who is this person? Who is this creator? What did they put into this show? Why? Back to process and why they did something.
Yeah, like why did they make Velma? Like
that's why.
They made a second season. Did you see that?
No.
And no one else did either. No.
Yeah, and we get into we get into events and sometimes live events and that kind of stuff, and we do on the content side, we do AMAs and all that kind of stuff. So it's not all social, but social is a big spoke in the flywheel.
What is your suggestion to your clients about quote unquote getting involved and what that means?
So I work on the TV side. Let's say, like when I'm working with a TV show, I want them involved to the extent that I want to know what they want, what's going on, what they can feed me in terms of content or upcoming things that we can talk about, or that kind of thing. But I don't need their involvement beyond that, than to sign off on creative content.
Oh, I'm sorry. So when I say get involved, I sometimes use terms that I coin through the show. So yeah. When I say get involved, it means about them getting involved with their community. And community doesn't have to be like, we're going to go help the homeless. Community means whatever it is that services their mission. So for example, if you're talking about film people and their mission is to bring together a group specifically to help one another and grow, like our Team Rise Together mission or nonprofit. How do you are you involved in that, in motivating them to get involved with outside, like to be like, I know you're working on this show, but you realize the stronger thing is to let people see you involved with communities you believe in, because then that'll lead them back to the show because you have a value.
So we developed a program. So a couple things. So when it comes to actually interfacing with fans on the TV side, a lot of times there's nobody on that team they're good at making TV shows. They're not great at interfacing with fans and being on social media. That's not what they do. And I always tell my clients that, like, of course you need to hire me because it's not what you do. You make great TV shows, and that's great. You don't have to be good at social media. You've got other people for that.
Yeah.
So I don't need them to do that, but we developed a program inside SuperServe called Community Compass for exactly this reason, right? And it's I guess it could be applied on the entertainment side, but I'm thinking more of the corporate brands that I work with. And it's about walking the walk and talking the talk. So like, let's use your social media to elevate. Let's elevate your social media by doing social good. Let's use it for social good.
Very good.
And so we find you a complimentary, charity or organization that you and your staff can go spend a couple days a month working with, whatever the mission is, whatever as long as it aligns with your brand, all that. And then you film your adventures and we post that as a stream on your socials once a week, once a month, whatever it is. And that serves the purpose of elevating your socials, highlighting their mission. It's win-win all the way around. It shows that you walk the walk, you're important to the community and all that kind of. So it was just how do we, it came out of the search for more content for a client. It was like, well, actually, we can actually use your socials to do some actual good here.
Yeah.
And it's a win-win scenario all the way around.
Yeah.
Now on the creator side, when I'm working with there's a Food Network, ex-Food Network chef that I'm working with, and she has a Substack and she has followers and they love her. And she's now in that sort of scenario where you've got a personality or a talent or a creator, like an individual, or maybe even a couple of individuals, not a brand, not a TV show, but people. I want them on the comments every day. I want them talking to people every day because, and it is the same thing as when the official TV account reaches out. But if I'm a fan of The Walking Dead or I'm a fan of this chef and I post a comment and then they say, hey, Jarrett, I liked your comment. As a fan, I'm going to lose my shit. Most people get excited by that. Like most
feel
people feel seen. And I feel valued by something that I really, really respect or maybe even sort of idolize. And that's powerful. And most people, when you're in entertainment, you forget and you become numb to it because
it's available.
Because it's there. It's just part of the deal, right? But when most people are civilians and most people don't work in entertainment and aren't around talent all the time.
Yeah.
And so for them, when they get acknowledged by somebody who has the sheen of being on TV, they're held up. So when they turn around and say, oh, I like that. Great job, Tom. People go crazy. People lose their stuff. Or at least if they don't go crazy, it really fills their bucket. They get excited.
I mean, the first rule of YouTube is respond to every comment. And there's a reason for that, because now they're going to watch the next video and comment, which then creates causes the algorithm to be like, people are interacting with this. I used to have this thing called Top of the Bottom Pile. It was a group of comedians that I pulled together, and we were the best of the worst. Your second best choice, right? So I used to always say, I go, look, whenever any of us in the group, there was like 5 of us originally, I go, whenever there's any of us post something, everybody in the group should comment, like, and share that post. And they'd always be like, your joke wasn't that funny, or blah, blah, blah. Right? And then they'd be like, but you don't even post jokes. And I go, because I'm not on social media to post jokes. I go on stage to tell the jokes. On social media, I'm me. I want people to be like, I like his personality. I'm relating with him, so I will go see his jokes, And anyway, so years later had passed, and they were one of the kids was just like, the other day, somebody commented on an old post that I did. It came up on their on Facebook on the history, like the memories.
Yep.
And he goes, and then all of a sudden, like, I commented back to them, and then before I knew it, I had 11 or 12 new likes, and like people were commenting on this post that was like 10 years old. And I was like, yeah, because that's exactly what I was talking about. Is you create movement from the algorithm. Because you're expanding the circle, which is YouTube does the same thing. If you post a video, it goes to your small group. If that small group interacts with it a certain amount, it goes to the next group. And if that next group works and interacts with it, it goes to the bigger group. And that's how you spiral content or social media posts. Because that's why I understand why you're doing the polls, because they're going to explode. But the problem is you're creating a larger expansion of a brand that is not your brand. It's a thing.
It's a facet of the brand because it's a regular part of the strategy, but there's all the other stuff, and if the poll brings people to the account and they say, oh, there's all this other, that's a cute clip. That's a cute clip. Now they might be, we've done some of the things that you're saying, that people have engaged with a bunch of things. And I just had this with another client recently. They sort of had very quiet socials, not a lot of engagement. And we spent a month posting consistently and waking up the algorithm.
Yep.
Realized that we were there and we were active and people were responding, and it grew exponentially from there.
Yeah, it's like Twitter. Like when I first started Twitter, I got, I think, 11,000 followers in like 2 months, right? And then I stopped. And now I'm like at 9,300 or whatever, because I don't use Twitter, right? Because now accounts are closing, people are leaving, it dies. But people were like, how did you do that? I go, I interacted with all the brands that I agreed with. So that included people, just normal people.
Yep.
If I liked what they were saying, not only would I comment, but I would retweet it, but I would add my personal thoughts on it.
Yep.
So then it's actually technically me posting, and it just so happens to have, right? And they'd be like, why do you do that? I go, because if I share somebody's thought, then I am saying that this thought is my brand. But if I share my thoughts on their thought, my brand is now being represented of that. And that's how you build the relationship. And I did it so much that people started interacting with me because I was so interactive.
Right.
And it works with also, like, you can do it literally with TikTok. If you on TikTok, like, not that it's going to be around much longer, but because you know,
who knows? Who knows?
Who cares about health? Let's get rid of TikTok. Anyway, so let's unanimously get rid of the TikTok. but who cares about health? Anyway, so with TikTok, what you would do is before you post anything, interact with like 700 accounts over time that represent the things you care about. So if you're an author, you're actually not looking for readership, believe it or not. You're looking for other authors because they will expand your brand naturally to other writers. Because the more authors that like you and interact with you, their audience ends up seeing them because the people who follow them are seeing what they interact. So before you even post, you just interact with, over the course of whatever time, 700 people within that genre. Now what happens? Your For You page is all the people that you want to interact with, but that also puts you into the algorithm of that stratosphere.
Right.
You could do that with anything, to Twitter, Instagram, et cetera, et cetera. But people don't think about it. They just go, I started my Instagram. I have one follower and I'm only going to follow my friends, which disrupts the algorithm completely.
Yeah.
And then they go, I'm going to post. And they're like, how come I got no interaction? It's like, because your post has nothing to do with anything. And the only people seeing it are the friends that don't interact with you because they see you on Tuesdays.
Right. They don't care. Right. Well, I guess, but part of that is, you know, you're talking about the difference between getting onto Instagram as a brand, trying to spread your brand versus being a person who's just like, oh, I want my friends to see my posts and, you know, I'm not trying to do anything.
100%. Yeah. The moment you want to make money doing something, like, listen to this show. If you're just like, you know, painting with poop and your friends, you drink with your friends on Thursdays, this is probably not the show for you unless you just want to listen to the craziness. So yes, I agree with that. Yeah. No, when I talk, I'm not talking about, you know, Sally Joe who just likes to paint on Thursdays, but they have a career being an accountant. Like, I can't help that person because they're happy.
They don't need your help.
Yeah, they don't need my help.
Market anything. Yeah.
Yeah. But I do a lot of free stuff. I don't know if you follow anything I do, but I try to give as many free resources as possible. When I do my speaking engagements, I try to do more free speaking engagements than I do paid speaking engagements.
Yeah.
Because I deeply believe in education equals empowerment, not only for other people, but for community. So the more people understand, like, misconceptions can devalue the community. So if everybody except for a small percentage are going, we need headshots, and they're just focused on headshots, but no one knows who you are, they're not elevating the community. But if you start all working together or starts, you know, celebrating the real process, it makes it a more enriched environment to be around. And that's for any community, any community. So I like to establish that. That's why I do shows like this and stuff like that. And that's, you know, but the people I'm talking to are not, you know, I make model planes. You know, like,
your guests are mostly in the business, though, aren't they?
What?
Your guests are mostly in the business.
Every guest I've ever had on the show is in the business. All the people I do on The Right Mindset are in the business. And then the other show I do is Let Me Be Round With You. Those people are a mixture of people in different industries, but they are within their industry, if that makes sense. But it doesn't necessarily mean the business, as in like the entertainment industry. Yeah, because what am I gonna? I mean, I can learn a lot from a millionaire, you know, but it's financial. Whereas, you know, like one of the greatest advices I ever got was like, why do you have a nice car? And I was like, well, you know, make it till you fake it. I mean, fake it till you make it, right? You know, dress the part. And they were like, so what do you do with the money you don't have? And I was like, what do you mean? It's like, are you saving, investing, and organizing? No, I'm going to wait until I make the money. And then, well, you'll never make the money then.
Right.
And I was like, oh, like, but that had nothing to do with entertainment. And that was actually what led me down the artist brain, business brain mentality. Like, if I want to be an actor, I could do soliloquies in my room. I'm an actor.
Right.
But the moment I want to make money, I can't be an actor. I have to be a business. And it just so happens I act.
Right.
Right. And I can put all the time I want into acting, but as long as it's after my business hours.
Right.
And you know, a lot of people need, like all my writer friends that are like in Hollywood, they don't spend, like when they would try to get into the career or like maintaining their career, they don't spend 8 hours a day writing. That wasn't how they did it. Like they spent like 8 hours a day getting involved. How can I be your, how can I get you coffee?
Hustling,
right? Yes. And then when they became writers, they still had to split their day between, because you can't write for 8 hours because the material becomes crap. So they'd write for 2 hours, then they'd do business stuff, and then they'd write for another hour or two, and then they'd do business stuff. But you know what they would always stop writing for? A meeting.
Right.
You want to get coffee? Yeah, I'm free. Yeah. Oh, you want me to go to your event? They don't go, oh, but I got to write. I got to get the pay. No, because they already know how to organize their time to get their pages done, you know, so they're on time because they're not artists waiting to be inspired. Oh, I need to be inspired to write. No, you got paid. That's the inspiration, you know? Yes.
Reminds me of two anecdotes, but the one I'll tell you is that I have an old friend who was a writer. Mm-hmm. And he was all right and no hustle. And so he would write scripts and shows, and they would just sit because there was no hustle.
Yeah.
And he's not a writer anymore.
Great example. That's artist brain. My work will make me successful. And you know what? I bet you your friend was awesome.
He was
writing wise. Yeah.
Very funny. Great. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Great. But you got to have the hustle.
Yeah. Talent actually means nothing until you find success. That's why when I talk about the stuff on the show, I go, there's the 3 needs of success and then the 3 needs of longevity. And the 3 needs of success is network, market, and practice. You need to do those things. Whatever the variables of those things are, you have to do that to find success. Right. But to create longevity, you got to manage your time, money, and people. You got to understand the entrepreneurial brain to find solutions by thinking outside the box, which adds value to the tables you join. And then your talent needs to exist. Not only what you do, but how you can lead, follow, and advise when joining tables. And now you'll create longevity. But you can't create longevity without success.
Right.
So some people go in front, they go talent, and they'll jump into the table. Me. I could do that. I'm great. And they're like, yeah, but could you organize the paperwork? No, I'm not. No, that's no. I can. I'm a director.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, but who are you? I'm Thomas. They're like, oh, okay.
Look, I think going back to your whole Sundance, getting stuff in a festival as your gateway to success. I think that the better parable is the Steven Spielberg one, which is what you're sort of alluding to now, which is be around, get people to know you, be helpful, be there, volunteer, get involved, and hopefully you get picked up.
Yeah, I mean, again, if you go in. Like, you shouldn't go in thinking I'm here to get picked up, right? Because the inevitable truth is, here's an example. Before you saw my name, did you ever think about me?
Nope.
Right? Now, today we're talking. As soon as we end this, I'm still going to be a thought on your mind. And I'll be there until it fades, which means be seen and be present.
Yeah.
And the more you're seen and the more you're present within their environment, the more they're going to think about you. And then the day will come where they go, didn't you say the other day you're a writer?
Yeah.
Yes.
I need a writer.
Right? And that is the secret to success is it can't be I'm a writer or I'm an actor or I'm a director or I'm a producer and you're just waiting for people to contact you because they met you once. I can't tell you how many times I've met people and I say to them, so how thick is the business card pile on your desk? Yeah, anyway, my electricity went out. So there's a weird jump in the audio here. But anyway, we have to end it because apparently my feet need a massage and my dog won't do it. So I'm going to have to find another dog, maybe my neighbors. Luckily, they don't lock their front doors. But listen, Jarret, Mr. Sherman,
Sure.
Thank you for coming on and being a delight to speak with.
Oh, a delight. I'll take that. Thank you. I
Yeah,
enjoy it also.
Yeah. I feel the stereotype that Canadians are all fun to be around is true, because several of my Canadian friends I enjoy communicating with.
I'll take it. I'll take it. And I'm happy to do it again if you want. I enjoyed it. It was a good talk.
Yeah. I'm always happy to bring people back on, and you just let me know, and maybe we'll set something else up, maybe do another episode. But listen, Jarrett, because it's mostly audio, and there's a visual, but why don't you audibly tell people how they can get in touch with you if they're interested not only in foot massages and excellent handshakes, but super service.
Yeah, listen, the website is superserve.me, and you can reach out to us there. You can reach out to us through LinkedIn. We're there too. And we don't only work with entertainment clients, so we'd love to hear from you. And if you have a project or you're in need of an audience, we'd love to chat.
That's right. But also, if anyone's out there in the OnlyFans world, we're willing to listen.
We're willing to listen.
We might not take you on as a client, but if you need to show us some printables,
we might take you on as a client.
Oh, that's true. That's I only had one porn star in my entire life as a client. I just want to put that out there.
I have not yet crossed that Rubicon.
It's a very, very interesting world. But listen, Jarrett has to get going. But thanks again. I appreciate it. And look, I don't make this stuff up.
Awesome.
All right. Let's hit the end.